When I turn on the camera to shoot a video, I kind of know where this is all headed, obviously, right? I have a roadmap, I have a script. And I do today, but I have to admit up front that this one's going to feel a little more scattered. It's going to go off a different direction, so bear with me. But today's show is, as you know from the title that you clicked on, today's show is all about the DYNACO Stereo 70, the ST70. Introduced in 1959 and remained in production up through, I think, the early to mid 1970s. Now, there were other DYNACO Stereo 70s that came later, but I'm talking about the original one. The one I have here, I think was made in the mid 1960s. This is David Hafler's company, a legendary name in audio, definitely, and for a reason I'll get to in just a second. But these amplifiers, many were sold as kits, Dyna Kit. Turns out this one, even though it says Dyna Kit on there, this one came factory assembled to its owner way back when, 60 years or so ago. And here I am, and guess what? I'm now the owner. I bought this amplifier because as I was living with it, and I've had it here quite some time, and I've referred to it in other videos, I just didn't want to let it go. I kept listening to it just on my own listening time because I enjoyed it so much. It does not sound old. And when I say that, I mean it doesn't sound soft or mellow or mushy, and the bass isn't soggy and the highs aren't rolled. No, it doesn't sound like that at all. It sounds so vibrantly alive. But it doesn't sound like a modern amplifier. It's not as transparent and pure and clear and all that other stuff. I'll get to all that later. And I will compare it later on in this video today with my reference solid-state amplifier, the Pass Labs XA25. So that comparison comes later. But David Hafler's name is probably pretty familiar to some of you guys from his solid-state company called, well, Hafler. And in 1977, he brought out the DH101, which was a preamp, solid-state preamp, and also the DH200. And they were sold, I think, as kits initially, and also factory assembled, following the formula from DYNACO. And was also hugely popular. I don't think nearly as popular as the ST70, but pretty darn popular. And I sold them when I was a hi-fi salesman. And I liked them, especially the power amp, but I never felt like I had to own one of those DH200 amplifiers. It didn't resonate with me in that way. But anyway, this amp, the ST70, is 35 watts per channel, push-pull EL34 amplifier. Now, the input tubes were a big deal when they were introduced by RCA. I'm showing you a picture of an ad for the RCA 7199. And that's the tube that David Hafler selected to be, well, the input tube. And this tube has been out of production for a long time now, and a lot of people modify their ST70s to work with other tubes as the input tubes. This one hasn't been modified because I want it to sound as original as possible. So when you look at the back end of this amplifier, you'll see something missing, as in binding post for the speaker connection. No binding post back there. Instead, what you see is what we used to call a barrier strip, those screw terminals. Now, a lot of people modify ST70s and put binding posts back there. I didn't want to do that. I like the idea of barrier strips. They can be a pain. They're really designed to be used with cables terminated with small spades. That's the way it works. But anyway, the cool thing about this barrier strip is that the amplifier has 3 output taps: 4 ohm, 8 ohm, and 16 ohm. Most modern tube amplifiers are either 4 or 8. This one gives you 3 choices, and I got to say that third choice, 16 ohm, came in really handy. I'm looking at the speaker over there. It came in really handy with the Sound Artist LS35A, which is an 11 ohm speaker. Yeah, so I'm glad it was there. And I did try that speaker with the 8 ohm tap, and I also tried it with the 16. I preferred it with the 16. It just sounded better balanced with the 16 ohm tap. And as I recall, Zoo has at times made higher impedance speakers. So they're rare, high impedance speakers, but it's nice to have that option. Oh, wait, the back of the amplifier has the on-off switch, that little like toggle, that little slide switch. Okay, that's kind of weird. It's back there, but anyway, in the front of the amplifier, I'm showing you the front now, you'll see the RCA inputs, which normally would be in the back. But in this case, they are in the front. And right next to those RCA inputs is a mono stereo switch. Now, at first you might think, well, that's so you could buy two ST70s and run them as monoblocks. Yeah, I'm sure some people use it that way. But actually, the reason that it has a mono stereo switch is because in 1959, not everyone had switched over to stereo. There was a lot of people out there still going mono, so they would buy one ST70, put that switch in mono, and play it over one speaker. So Ben Hayes did this restoration, and he made a video talking about it, and he measured it, and he shows you the inside. Actually, I'll show you a picture of the inside of the underside of the amplifier with the cover removed. There's a lot of wiring in there. But anyway, Ben took care of all of that, and he made this very cool video, and I'm going to link to that in the description below this video. Oh, and Ben's company, it's Novolux Stereophonic. No, so I jumped between these three speakers, the Klipsch OJAS, the Pure Audio Project, and the Sound Artist LS35A. But a lot of it was done with the Pure Audio Project speakers, because those are my main reference. Those are the speakers I know best. And I was playing Massive Attack. And this one night I'm listening to Massive Attack, and I'm playing the first Santana album. And I'm just so surprised how much propulsion this amplifier has in terms of its rhythm and pace and engagement with me, the listener. It was extraordinary. I mean, definitely up to modern standards. As I said earlier, this is not a sluggish, bland sounding amplifier. No, it is definitely not. But that band was really about rhythm, more than most rock bands, right? And it's that Latin rhythm and the congas and stuff, and you just turn it up. And I'm playing it at this point with the Klipsch OJAS speakers. I'm turning it up, and it's just boogie time, man. These rhythms made me move. I couldn't stand still. I just had to get up and dance. That's a rare feat, actually, but I was definitely getting into the sound. To move things along at a quieter level, I changed things up, and I played Bill Evans. This is a live jazz recording, and the bass player on this date was Scott LaFaro, who died way too young. And anyway, a great bass player, but there was something about his playing and the recording that you could just about see his fingers going up and down the neck. And the fullness and the woodiness of his bass was extraordinary. The piano tone that Bill's playing, just so right. I'm listening fairly near field with the Sound Artist speakers, about 4 feet away, and they sounded big. And these speakers could just open up, big sound stage, wider than the actual locations of the speaker. And it felt like, yeah, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing what they were putting down that night at the club. Okay, so then I played this one, Us Three, Hand on the Torch. It's on Blue Note, the label Blue Note, and they sample the hell out of the Blue Note catalog. So it's actually rap music with a lot of Blue Note music in it, and also live people playing instruments. So it's this weird mishmash. It's essentially rap music, but I love it. And when this was a new record in the 90s, I bought the CD. And I liked it a lot, and I've streamed it over the years. But to tell you the truth, this LP, which I bought about a year ago, sounds way better. So if you actually like this music, definitely, and you have a turntable, definitely buy this album. But the amplifier, you know, sometimes I would look at the amplifier as I was playing music over these three speakers, Pure Audio Project, the Klipsch OJAS, and the Sound Artist speaker. I'd look at the amplifier and think, how can this amplifier do that? How does it make that sound that's so vital? Point is, they knew how to make great sounding amplifiers in 1959. Certainly David Hafler did. So it's not like we had to get to a certain point of the technology before music sounded awesome. But yeah, David Hafler figured it out in 1959. He made a bunch of these amplifiers, and luckily enough, a lot of them survive. If you look around on eBay, you'll see them at all prices, less than the $900 I paid. Yes, I paid $900 for this one, but I've seen them for $400. They're not in the best shape. I've seen them for $1,500. I've seen original ones that aren't molested, and then I've seen some that are heavily updated. So they're out there, they're plentiful. So if I'm making you curious, you can jump in. All along, I knew that I needed to compare the sound of the ST70 with a really good solid-state amplifier. And I did. Now, the Past Labs XA25 is my reference. It's the one I actually play most of the time, especially when I'm listening on my own time. But anyway, I compared these two amplifiers, and I was playing the soundtrack to this incredible movie called Fur. It's a weird movie. And the music is by Carter Burwell. He's one of my favorite movie composers. And there's a lot going on, but some of it is sparse. Piano, electric guitar, stand-up bass, little percussion details. And I'm listening between these two amplifiers. And I first listened to the DYNACO and thought, man, this is good. This is really good. And I switched over to the XA25. And the difference in the detail and clarity and hearing into the recording and hearing all this fine stuff that was going on was huge. Yes, so the Past Labs definitely delivers the goods. It's more powerful sounding, it plays louder, the bass is more impactful. It does all of that stuff. The highs are much more extended. It does all those things, no contest. If that's what you're looking for, if that's what you crave, then buying an old tube amplifier is not the right choice for you. But when I just listened to the DYNACO ST70 on my own without doing comparisons, I was really happy. It just did something. It connected with me in a way that was just so, like I said, I couldn't let it go. I bought this amplifier. And yeah, that's it, man. So let's do something called, yes, you know it, you love it, the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Hey, this is Mike's system, but before we get into that, I just wanted to show you the rack, close up of the rack. At the bottom of the rack, that's a Heathkit AA1640. The reel-to-reel machine is an Akai GX6000B. Preamp is a Threshold FET2. For CD playing, there's an EAD T1000 transport. The DAC is an EAD DSP 1000. The tuner is a Sansui TU717. Turntable to the left there, that's a Technics SL1310. The speakers are Electro-Voice Sentry 3s. The big rack is a custom-made rack, and the turntable stand is a 1940s cast iron kick press base. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but it certainly looks cool. Thank you, Mike. All right, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg. It's true, I am the Audiophiliac, and I am your host. And on this channel, I have produced many hundreds of reviews in 7 years. And I've done countless interviews. And I've done think pieces, all sorts of stories collected here for your enjoyment. And I'm thrilled to continue to do that. But I also have a Patreon. And on that Patreon, where my fans help support this channel and keep it going, I make other videos that are not shown here on the YouTube channel, shorter videos, but one every week pretty much. And you have to join the Patreon to see those videos. So if that piques your interest, give it a shot. You can jump in and jump out. It's not like you're making a commitment over the long term. Many people come in for a month or two, split, come back. It's all good. And at the top 2 tiers of the Patreon, the $50 a month or the $100, it starts for just a couple bucks a month. The top 2 tiers, $50 and $100, you guys, we talk every month at the beginning of the month. And I'm doing that a long time, and I thoroughly enjoy talking to the people that watch this show. We talk about audio, we talk about music, we talk about all sorts of things. So if that also piques your interest, consider that, and you can afford it, please consider that. And with that, I can say my work here is at last complete. Thank you so much for watching. I truly do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.